Today we are going to use two different strategies to round numbers. The first one will be rounding numbers using a number line. Here I have, using the number line, what is 195,428 rounded to the nearest hundred. So I notice on my number line I have 195,400, 195,500. Those are my benchmarks, and they're both represented up to the hundreds place value. So it will be easy for me to round this number to the hundreds place once I get it onto my number line. So my first step will be writing my number on the number line. I know that my first benchmark is 195,400. I'll count 2 places about to get my number stuck on my number line. 195,428 would go in between these two lines on my number line. Now, in order to round it, I need to determine which benchmark it's closest to. So my first benchmark, 195,400, is only about 3 hops away from my number. But my second benchmark, 195,500, is about, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. About 7 or 8 hops away from my number. That's pretty far. So the one that it's closest to would be the number that it's rounded to. 195,428 rounded to the nearest hundred would be 195,400 because it's closer to that benchmark on my number line. Let's try another one. Here I have, using the number line, what is 178,428 rounded to the nearest 10,000. On my number line, I have the benchmarks 170,000 and 180,000. My first step is going to be getting that number onto my number line. So I'm going to count about 8 lines because I have 178. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And I'll go just a little bit past there. I have 178,428 on my number line. Now remember, in order to round this number, I have to use my benchmarks. I want the benchmark that will be closest to this number. So like we just counted, 170,000 is about 8 hops away from my number. The next benchmark, 180,000, is about 2 hops away. When we're rounding, we want to choose the closest number. So my closest number here will be 180,000. So 178,428 rounded to the nearest 10,000 will be 180,000 because that's the closest benchmark to my number on my number line. Let's try another strategy. Now we're going to round numbers using a rhyme. Okay, here we have, using our rhyme strategy, what is 97,453 rounded to the nearest 1,000? So, keeping place value in mind, I'm going to underline the place value I need to round to, the thousands place. The 7 is in the thousands place. I underlined the thousands place. Next, I will circle the neighbor to the right. The neighbor to the right is 4. Now, remembering the rhyme that I learned earlier today, 4 or less, let it rest, 5 or up, round it up. I'll take my number that I've circled and apply that rhyme. 4 or less, let it rest, 5 or up, round it up. 4 falls under 4 or less, let it rest. So the number that I have underlined, the 7, will rest. Rest means that it will stay the same. So my number, 97,453, will round to 97,000 because the 7 was left alone and it was let to rest. All of the numbers after the place value I underlined have turned to zeros. This is one way we can round using our rhyming strategy. Let's try another one. Here I have, using the rhyme strategy, what is 65,869 rounded to the nearest 10? So to begin, I need to underline the number in the tens place. Here I have a 6 in the tens place. This is the digit I will be rounding. Next, I'll circle the neighbor to the right. The neighbor to the right is a 9. This is the number I'll be applying my rhyme to. 4 or less, let it rest. 5 or up, round it up. 9 falls under 5 or up, round it up. So the 9 is telling me I need to round up. My digit that I underlined will be rounded up. If I round 6 up, then it becomes 7. So 65,869 rounded to the nearest 10 would be 65,870 because I used the neighbor to round up. These are two different strategies you can use to round numbers. Now let's practice.